This podcast is a 98 Studios production.
Today's the day, baby.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Today's the motherfucking day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Today's the Day with Zach Anderson. I've got a really quick thought that I want to go and share with you guys. I was already in the studio. We were getting some work done. And I just had a thought, and I'm like, dude, I think this is really important to get out there because it's been extremely important to me recently. So I'll give you guys some background on this and kind of why I'm thinking on it and why I think it's so valuable and what it's meant for me. And then you guys can do with it as you please. But I want to kind of, I want to preface it and everything, but let me think of the best way to go and explain this. So rewind in my life a little bit back. I started going to Tony Robbins events when I was 19 years old. I got invited by a lot of my good friends and my mentors. We went in a big group and it was amazing. Since then, I've been to multiple Tony Robbins events and I love them and I couldn't recommend them more. And I think they're amazing. But there's one thing at this last event I went to that stood out to me that he said, and I realize he says it at all of his events. And I realized how important it is as well. And I've always known it, but I think I just had a moment of like realization of like, holy crap, this one thing determines almost everything that we do. And the quote, and I hope I don't butcher it, but basically every event at Tony Robbins, he mentions multiple times throughout the event that the strongest force in a human being is to act in congruency with their identity. Meaning, for you to act as though you identify yourself, the way you identify yourself, that is more powerful than anything else. That's more powerful than discipline. That's more powerful than habit. That's more powerful than anything. And the reason I think that is, and I'm learning as I go along, is because then that means instinctually, right, you act a certain way. And I kind of put two and two together because I remember him saying that and it stood out and I wrote it down in my notebook and I've heard it a lot of times. I'm like, okay, identity, right? And then when I was watching The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary or series or whatever it is, Tim Grover's talking about what makes Michael Jordan special, like what makes him so special and so different. And all the other greats as well, Kobe Bryant and all those guys. And what he says is, those guys are the most present people on the court, and they don't act out of thought or out of habit. They act out of instinct. And when all hell breaks loose and everything's going wrong, they instinctually know how to shoot a free throw, how to shoot a three-pointer, how to go make a layup, how to drive. They instinctually know how to go and do those things. That is part of their identity, right? So as I'm learning that and as I'm like, okay, that's really cool. That's a cool thought. It's like, how can you go use that to your advantage? How can you go and kind of craft that to go and create the life that you want? And it's really simple, man. It's in our Sunday planning as well. Shout out to Casey Baugh and everybody who helped make that happen. It's in our notebook, our top 10 notebook under the weekly planning section. It's you can go, if you want to go and live a certain life, go and identify as the person who would go create that life, right? And I'm going to break that down a little bit for you because I know that can be a little bit confusing. You need to go and be very deliberate with how you identify within yourself and craft that to be the kind of person that creates the life you want to live. So you need to go and understand, what are your top roles in life? What do you want to be really good at? Like, what do you want to make sure you're prioritizing? And you need to go and craft that in your identity. And a way of doing that is in our weekly planning, there's a question, who am I? Who is Zach Anderson? And then you can go write 20 answers to that. And the crazy thing is if you go write down answers and you're very, very aware of why you're writing down each answer, you can literally go and craft the life that you want. And it's through obviously a lot of patience and time and everything like that. But subconsciously, you can go train your brain to understand, like, okay, dude, I'm a force for good. Something Casey Baugh always says, and he absolutely is a force for good. And he's very deliberate about that. I'm an investor. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a leader, right? I'm an athlete. I'm a good father. I'm a good friend. I'm a good neighbor, right? I'm an incredible salesman. I remember there was, I didn't even realize I was doing this, but for the longest time in my sales career, it was almost 6 years straight. every morning before I started work, I'd pull out my journal, and I wouldn't journal like, oh, my day was bad yesterday, it's going to be good today. I would go and I would write out affirmations. I would write, I am the greatest salesman on this team. I'm the greatest salesman in my region, right? And this was back when I was literally the worst rep in my region. So it was just a blatant lie on paper. But I wrote it down, and I like, for whatever reason, I'm very superstitious. I couldn't work until I did this little journal entry of affirmations. But what I was really doing is I was shaping my identity to myself, because then I started to believe it. After about a year of writing it down, I started to believe like, oh, dude, I am a great salesman. Like I am, right? And I started to become one, and I did. I got really, really good at it. And there have been other examples in my life that I go and I kind of hyper focus on what I want to identify as and how I want to identify to the world and to myself. And it totally changes the way you act. It changes the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, because you internally believe it, and then your instincts kick in, right? You start to speak like you are that person. You start to walk around like you are that person. And I think it's extremely, extremely valuable and powerful as well. If you can understand that is the most powerful force in a human being, is to act in congruence with their identity, then really the missing piece to the puzzle is go create the identity that you want to actually have. And affirmations is a great way. Answering the question, who am I, is a great way. Affirmations out loud is a great way. Writing down what you want to be as if you're already that. There's so many different ways to do it, but I would challenge all of you guys, go and understand and realize and learn how much effort have I put into crafting my identity, or have I kind of let my identity just get shapen by everything that's happening to me. And another really, really cool thing that I learned, because I always used to think, oh, human beings are just negative. You have to force positivity. Otherwise, we're just negative by nature. And that's not actually true. Our brain is multiple millions of years old, and our brain is not a negative brain, but it's a brain that's designed for survival, not designed to go find you happiness. Meaning, if you want to go find happiness and other things along the way as well, you need to go and do things different than what your brain will automatically do on its own. You need to go rewire your brain by crafting your own identity and all these other things that we talk about. That's a piece of it. To go and find happiness and success and fulfillment and overachievement rather than just survival, because our brains are designed to survive. And for anyone who's watching this podcast, that means you have a computer, a phone, or something to listen to this on. It's not very hard to survive in your life. Like, you probably have clean water at your fingertips every single day. You probably have a place to live every single day. You probably have food every single day. You might not get to eat out every single day. I'm not saying you have a ton of expendable cash, but surviving is not that hard. So you need to go and implement certain things that are going to push your brain to find the next thing, because survival's what it's designed to do. You need to go and force it to do more. So yeah, I'd be very aware of what identity you give yourself, and be very, very careful and cautious to make sure you don't go identify as something you don't want to be, right? Because that's just as powerful as wiring your brain into identifying as something you do want to be. If you go and you're always bashing on yourself, or out of trying to be humble, you're like, nah, dude, I'm not that good. You are wiring your brain to think you're not that good. There needs to be a level of balance there, and you need to make sure you understand, dude, anything I go and say that I am is what I'm going to slowly become. And if you say it long enough, loud enough, and whatever that quote is, it becomes the truth. Any lie becomes the truth, right? So go and choose your identity. Go and be very deliberate with it, and then see the way it changes, and be super patient. Like, it's not going to be overnight. I wrote down that I was a great salesman for a year while I was absolutely getting my ass kicked. And out of delusion, I ended up finding out a way to go get good. So be aware of it. But yeah, I hope that's helpful. Just a random thought. I hope you guys enjoy it. And as always, much love. Until next time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. As always, it was a blast for me. I hope you got something out of this. If you got something out of this video of value, share this with a friend, and please go show your love. We're on all streaming platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Any ratings, comments, likes, shares, they go a very long way, and they make it so I can keep doing these things for you, and I would appreciate it greatly. So please go share with a friend. Until next time.